Hi, Eric Onekey here. I'm in the countryside, as I like it. And thank you, Nilekast, for allowing me to be part of this interview. So I'm gonna tell you briefly about my trip that I started towards the end of March this year. What I wanted first was to find my roots, where my great grandfather comes from, the story, if there is any to find, and to meet people who lived with him, like what was he like. So I met somebody who played with my great grandfather, and he told me some stories about their childhood and who he was and how he left, all that kind of things, and that I didn't know, because now that I'm older I can't ask him questions because he's dead now, right? And so yeah, I came through lots of discoveries, and then at some point I thought, how much is there to learn from these older people that we don't know? So I decided to do the tour of Rwanda and go across the country and just take the bus and go to a township and then ask around, is there any older people here? Is there anybody who's 70 and above who's lived around here that I can meet? And then people will be like, yeah, go up there. So I'll climb the hills, I'll go up and go down valleys, and then I find the people, and eventually we have like a 30-minute interview. I only slept once at this old man's house. He gave me his bed, he let me sleep, and then in the morning he took me to see some other people that I needed to meet. But in most cases I would sleep in small motels around the township, then leave in the morning or do whatever I need to do the next day. I learned a lot, and one thing I realized is that the history of Rwanda as we know it, we just know the bullet points, but there's so much to discover, there's so much to learn. In terms of the history of Rwanda, what I realize as well is like we are doing it on purpose in terms of not telling the story, because I think there's parts of the stories that people think that they shouldn't be told, because every era has a way of rewriting its history, right? And we are no exception. It happens every day. And so to some extent it seems like people are just waiting for everything to be erased, to rewrite everything. Because I went to places where for example there's a place where there was Inhango ya Rwabugiri, which was like a calabash where he used to drink from and was practice magic and all these ancestors rituals, and then it was broken. There was no trace of it anymore because there was no conservation. So if you ask me, do we preserve our history and cultural heritage, I would say absolutely not. And it looks like the people in charge don't give a fuck. Absolutely. And it's obvious, because if you talk to them, these people, and you realize that actually it's funny, but we the youth somehow know much more than they do, but it's all because they don't care, right? I met Mushabizi, who's a Manga maestro. He taught pretty much everybody. He taught Deo Munyakazi how to play the Nanga. And for him, he got this gift from his father. And his father had gotten the gift from his father and his father. So it's a legacy. They keep teaching, and they keep teaching the family line. So it's from father to son, perpetuate the legacy. And for him, he carries this responsibility that he has to master and be best, and he has done it. Most of the nangas that we hear on radio, he produced them. He made them happen, and he played them, and he gave them to the radio. And so we grew up listening to this music, to this nanga music. We didn't know who was the people behind it, but he's one of the greatest guys that is around, and they're still alive. And guess what? He's a legend, but he lives in misery, poverty. Like, if you go to his house, he doesn't have electricity, he doesn't have anything pretty much. He's just like a small guy, But we the people, of course, we enjoy the art for free as we usually do, yeah. And it's so unfair, and it's so sad. I cannot compare a guy like that to any artist that is emerging today, because first of all, the essence of the art is not the same, the calling is not the same. He's doing it for a purpose. He wants to perpetuate a legacy, and he teaches his kids, he teaches the people around him. He gives the best that he has. But us today, the artists today, we take a beat, we listen to the beat, we take it to the studio, and what the artist would do, instead of even recreating the beat, they just do exact the same beat, and the producer would do the beat, and then this guy, in terms of creativity, he will like do the ad-libs, and the ad-libs will become the song. So I mean, we just want shortcuts. I mean, if you produce a song in 5 minutes, you know what kind of song. Of course, you won't live more than a week, yeah. And yeah, so I cannot compare Mushabizi or Maria Johanna to the artists today. We are into instant gratification. Like, it has to be a hit song now. And the music that we produce is not about conveying certain message. Most of the time, it's just about me being a famous guy, you know. Yes, there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of misery. I was born in a village. I grew up poor. I went to the city when I was 13. And what broke my heart during this trip is that I realized that the same misery that I grew up in the 80s, some people are still living in 2017, when we have 4G in the city and the lights on all night and suicide doors and people driving Range Rovers and you know, V8, VX, all that kind of shit, you know, because I thought because we grew up in poverty we would understand how it hurts, you know, but once in a position to make calls to push forward the generations of the people, it looks like people just want to acquire wealth for themselves. I mean, and also we pretend a lot. If you live in a $300,000 house, down your if you look through the window, of course you will see the kids who are fighting for a cup of porridge in the morning. I mean, there's too much proximities. You cannot pretend that you don't see the misery around you. If you're driving a Porsche Cayenne in town, yeah, you'll be at the red light and then there will be another guy pushing a bicycle with a bunch of potatoes or bananas going to sell, and who doesn't live away from the city, you know? So you can't pretend that you don't know these things. Misery is real and it's there, and we are still a poor country, you know. It's just that we want to portray this image of, you know, development, you know. But what is development? It's not just buildings, it's not just roads. There is a lot to it, you know. I'm talking minds, I'm talking lifestyles, I'm talking, you know, a way of life, a way of living. It's not just taking pictures of a building that nobody is using, you know. Yeah, so there is a lot of that, you know. And I went to this place where people live in it's like outside, actually. You just have a shelter and then there's nothing else. So ask them when it rains what happens, and they say they can't sleep when it rains, so they have to get up. I mean, they have no mattress, they have nothing. And this place is like, maybe it's in Muhanga, it's like 500 meters down the road, yeah. And it's not like people can pretend they don't see it. You see it every time you go to the streets, you know, every time you go to the bus park. There's a lot to learn, there's a lot to do. We need to be real and to stop pretending, you know. We need to get our hands dirty. That's all I have to say. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Thank you, Nilekast. I hope that's it. I hope I said it all. Cheers.